So this is a tool that I wanted to discuss with you. It's a very easy, it's called AD8, that how to basic identify if somebody is having any memory impairment. So this is like a eight question tool where it is very simple. So considering that somebody has dementia, they got a diagnosis, the whole new journey starts from there. Now, the medical treatment, yes, there is no, let it be any type of it. Say it is Alzheimer's, it is frontotemporal or vascular. They all will have their, in themselves, they will have, each type will have different symptoms. Also, every stage will have a different set of symptoms. So this is a tool that I wanted to discuss with you. It's a very easy, it's called AD8, that how to basic identify if somebody is having any memory impairment. So this is like a eight question tool where it is very simple. If you see the screen, it is asking yes, there is a change, no, there is no change, or don't know. So if we see these questions, problem with judgment. So the first one is problem with judgment. Like as I just discussed with you that, they're not able to understand if there is salt in it, there's sugar in it, or it's hot, or financial decisions. Somebody not able to, say they have gone to a shop and not able to take the right change back, or not able to cross the road at the right way. So if you see that a person is having that problem, you can tick mark that yes. Okay. Then less interest in hobbies and activities. A person, say for a gentleman who has like probably gone for a walk all his life, and then he was part of sports, or he was walking, running, cycling, and suddenly he's like, no, I don't want to do it. Or something that they have done over years, like hobbies, music, art, or anything, and suddenly now they are like, no, 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 I'm not interested, or they just don't want to. Then you can tick mark yes or no based on that observation. So these observations should be at least 3 to 4 months of observation, not like a week. You can't say that, okay, a week it is not happening, let me do a AD8 test. It doesn't happen like that. At least for 6 months to 4 months, if these are the set of symptoms. So say that you tick mark, like, you go through the entire list. So the third one is repetition of same things. They might say same phrase or a story over and over again. Somebody would say that I did not have breakfast, or somebody, anything. It could be just random thing, or it could be like a random action also, where they are like, say for example, opening the door, closing it, opening the door, closing it, for no reason. So then the third one is applicable, repetition of certain things. Then coming to the fourth one, trouble learning how to use new things or gadgets. Yes, our phones are very complicated, or the system is very, like, say the new gadgets coming nowadays are complicated. But then is there a new learning happening? If somebody teaches, are they able to grasp it or not? Or something very simple like a TV remote or like microwave. See, we have listed out like gadgets, computers, and all. It doesn't mean that elderlies are going to learn that way. No, we have to be rationalizing it that, okay, are they able to use TV remote? Are they able to use the basic things that they have used earlier? Are they able to continue to do that? Then this will be applicable or not, the fourth one. Forget correct month or year. You try asking them, what date is this? What month is this? Which year is this? If it is a wrong answer, then yes, there is a change. If no, then no. Trouble handling complicated financial affairs. For a simple way, I can say it is a checkbook, signing, or remembering when was the last they went to the bank, or managing their finances. to the basic level that they were earlier doing. So you always have to think that, okay, a year back also they were doing the same thing. In the last 4 months, suddenly there is a change or not, or 4 to 5 months. So basically, like, I can tell you like 4 to 6 months would be the appropriate time to think that, okay, are they able to do it within this time period or not? Then trouble remembering appointments. Appointments could be like, yes, doctor appointment, or it could be something like, say, the son or the relative or the daughter, whoever. They said that, okay, today at lunch I'm going to come, but they forgot about it. So that is also an important appointment that, they're not able to remember, or they were supposed to go to a bank, or they were supposed to go to an office and they forgot about it. And then daily problems with thinking or memory. So that is a very common thing, like daily things. It's like, just going out of the house or remembering who is the neighbor. So this is the most simplest test we all can use to identify memory impairment. Let's not call it like directly a dementia thing. So on this scale of 8, even if there are two questions or two yes, like, the from the yes column, even if you get 2 or more, then you should reach out to a doctor for further evaluation. So yes, what to do? Say on that evaluation you found that no, there is something definitely that we need to see a doctor. So you either reach out to a physician, you reach out to a psychiatrist or a neurologist. Anything would do. Okay. And then the doctor will basically advise for a cognitive assessment, which is done by, say, a psychologist or a neuropsychologist. So they'll do a lot of paper pen tests, very similar to the AD8, what we saw right now, but a very in-depth, so that they understand what is happening. Then then based on that report, again, so the psychologist will give a report, and then you go back to the doctor, and then the doctor will see and then assess, and maybe they will ask for like brain scans or blood tests to rule out reversible causes. So we always have to remember that it is not that, okay, all the things we say on the test we got like a very high number, so that is dementia. No, there is a possibility it could be a reversible cause. So the best thing is to go and reach out to the doctor, right? And the doctor is the right person to give the diagnosis of either it is dementia or not. So considering that somebody has dementia, they got a diagnosis, the whole new journey starts from there. Now we are talking about someone who has dementia. Now, the medical treatment, yes, there is no cure. There are no medicines to cure dementia, but there are certain medicines to slow down the progression. There are certain medicines that will manage the symptomatic things. So that's why it is very important to go to the doctor. As I mentioned, I'll repeat it. It can be a family physician, it can be a psychiatrist, or it can be a neurologist. Then the second part, that is mainly for the person with dementia. Now a person has dementia, they are taking medical treatment. What more do they need? They need a lot of non-pharma interventions, which is basically non-medical interventions, which are therapies, or which are things. So there is a lot of things that can be done for the person with dementia as part of their care and care management and treatment. So there's something called cognitive stimulation therapy. This is something very, very crucial and important in dementia. The other things are daycare, something like what our organization runs for, like, and residential cares, where there are people, where there are dementia specialists or experts who will take care, and it is a 24/7 residential care for dementia. Then the other column that you see is basically the family caregiver who provides care. So now you see in this whole treatment plan, the one very important aspect is caregiver, the person, the family person who provides care, because they have to understand what is dementia. They have to learn what is dementia, how to manage it, what are the symptoms, and then they have to manage their own lives. So either, and they will, so they will have to manage the burden of the disease in physical manner, emotionally, and financially. So who exactly is a caregiver? Generally in our country, in India, it is somebody from the family. It can be son, daughter, daughter-in-law, some close relative who will take care of this dementia person. They also have their own life. For example, a daughter-in-law taking care of the elderly person. She has her life, she has her health, she has kids, she has to run the house, and this is the additional. So, can you just imagine the level of stress this person is going through? Because caring for someone with dementia is very complex, very challenging. So when we are talking that a caregiver needs, to take off time to learn things, it is like a very high expectation from someone who really don't have time. So it makes things really very complex. So one thing is the minute the diagnosis is given, the family entire unit has to contribute to it. If it is at home, if it is residential care, if the family is opting for, then yes, it may not be that much burden, but it also comes with its own set of challenges and issues. So different stages of dementia will have different set of symptoms. Let it be any type of it. Say it is Alzheimer's, it is frontotemporal or vascular. They all will have their in themselves. They will have, each type will have different symptoms. Also, every stage will have a different set of symptoms. So, say the early stage, there is memory loss. There is a lot of things that they are stalking. There is difficulty thinking around planning, language, communication, poor orientation, visual issues, wandering, lot of these things. So, a family caregiver who is providing the care needs to understand that, okay, what is going to happen in early stage? What is going to happen in the middle stage? Then, based on that, again, they need to change their care management. Again, they need to make different type of care assistant for the person with dementia. Then there is late stage. So in middle stage, again, it will be progressive. So you can see early stage, middle stage, late stage. This is progressing from early to late stage. As it increases, there are more set of symptoms. There's a possibility some of the early stage symptoms will drop off because the person has probably lost the ability of language or mobility, and there are other comorbidities along with dementia. So all this will make it more complex. Now, middle stage will be more very significant symptoms where they are dependent for their basic activities of daily livings like eating, bathing. Somebody has to assist them, somebody has to do it for them, to wash them, to clean them, to feed them. And then there are a lot of personality changes, there are behavior changes, which is called BTSD. We'll talk in the coming slide. And then it can be a longest and the most trickiest stage also, the middle stage, where there are a lot of behavior issues. There's wandering and there's a constant need of 24/7 round the clock care or supervision needed. Then there is a need of attender, somebody who has you'll have to take it as a paid attender, because one person in the family, whoever is the caregiver, may not be able to manage the person with dementia as the stages increases. And then comes the late stage. Late stage is more where there is absolutely no memory, no communication, loss of motor skills, there's no mobility. They may be bedbound also, inability to recognize the relatives, inability to recognize the surrounding, the house, incontinence, but they just can't able to, they can't go to the bathroom as there's no mobility. So there is incontinence, somebody has to clean repeatedly after them, loss of swallowing reflex. So as the stages increases, right, as the dementia progresses, the body will also forget the functions. The body will, the muscles will lose the ability. The muscles will forget that, okay, how to swallow the food. There's a high chances that they may choke on the food that they are eating. So they have to given like a special soft diet. There is a high possibility of aspiration happening, which is basically where the food gets into the windpipes and it can cause pneumonia and can be fatal. Then, so loss of recognition of familiar people, the same people who've been taking care of them for years after they have got dementia, and end of life care, which is also palliative care. So, this is the late stage. It comes with its own complexities. Imagine a caregiver providing at home, so they need to do a home setup for a late stage, maybe a different bed, maybe another attender or a nurse, or frequent doctor consultations at home. So it also increases the financial stress. So other than psychological stress, it is like physical stress where you're constantly supervising. It is also financial. So these are basically psychological issues. So what psychological issues happen in dementia? Neuropsychological challenges like agitation, hallucination, depression, delusions. These are all neuropsychological things that happen that can be taken care with medicine, also with the cognitive stimulation and the therapies that we are talking about. Then there is wandering. They will always say, I want to go home, because they don't remember where they are. Maybe their memory is so impaired that they only remember the old, their early memories, which is called autobiographical memories. They will probably want to go home in their childhood house where they grew up, because their short-term memory is no more, the long-term memory is impacted, so they live in the oldest memory that they have. And that can be also used as the therapies that we do, because what old things they remember, we work and initiate those things. Tendency to walk around, that is more like an anxiety and aggression. Then there is perseverance. As I said, there's a repetition. They'll keep on asking the same question. They will keep on doing the same gestures. Lack of inhibitions, aggression, hiding or losing things. So there is a tendency, they will keep things, forget it, they will hide it. Or more than hiding, it is more like they forget. Like, that lady who kept her glasses somewhere. And then she started blaming the maid that, okay, she has stolen it. So because they're not able to search it, there is a high tendency of blaming others, and that makes a very bad family dynamics or the environment dynamics when there is a hoarding and blame game happening. Then there is something very interesting called sundowning. As it is late afternoon, when the sun starts to set, you can see that from the midday to the late evening, you can see how the shadows change and it starts becoming evening. So even at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you will feel that it's getting a little late. And it's a very innate tendency, for all of us, that it's getting late, I need to go home. If you're outside, this is the first thing that comes. It's getting evening, I better get back home. And that's probably something very similar that happens to the dementia person, because as it gets evening, there's a lot of confusion, there is a disorientation, and there is that anxiety of just going somewhere. So that it's not that every dementia person will have, but most of them has this sundowning, where as it starts getting evening, say after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, for our setups, they will get really very anxious. They will be like restless. And then there can be nighttime pacing. They will be just walking up and down, that, that restlessness, and because the communication, their language is so bad that they're not able to communicate and say that what exactly the brain is thinking or processing, where they want to go. And they will just simply, sometimes, most of the time, it will be like, I want to go home, because they don't understand the surrounding. And that home that they are talking about could be that, as I said, that childhood home, which probably doesn't exist. There are incidents where the families have taken dementia person to their recognize it. So it is not like they want to go to that house. It's just that there is something in their head or something in their memory, and they are trying to reach out to the which doesn't exist. So it is a little complex things, but then a caregiver need to understand that why a person is behaving. Trust me, that once there is a knowledge, understanding, and how to manage dementia care, it is not that difficult. It can be done. I know so many caregivers who have had good experience taking care of dementia person at home.